Who is Louis Napolitano? A lawyer? A filmmaker? Or perhaps even a future teacher? Today, in Educational Technology, we find out. So what made you decide to become a teacher? Well, it's a funny story. So my original goal was to become a lawyer. So I had always loved mock trial and the idea of being in a courtroom and being part of a trial. So I found that love in 7th grade in my social studies class, where we did a mock trial in class, and I was one of the lawyers, and I was like, I like this. I think, I want to do this for my career. So I did mock trial all 4 years of high school. I was the captain. And then I started looking at schools that had legal studies majors. So I went to Quinnipiac University. That's the school I decided on. And I did mock trial there for my first year, and only 1 year, because unfortunately I couldn't do both theater and mock trial. And my first love has always been the theater, so unfortunately mock trial got knocked out. And I guess that was the beginning of when I started figuring out that maybe I didn't want to be a lawyer. So at the end of my sophomore year of college, I had taken a class that was on writing legal memos, and I despised writing them. They weren't fun, they were boring. I was good at them, but I did not want to have to do legal memos for the rest of my life. And with a legal studies degree, that's what I would have been doing as a paralegal. So I switched my major at the beginning of my junior year of college, and I switched to English. Still under the pretext that I was going to be a lawyer and still go to law school, but I didn't want to be paralegal and have to write legal memos all day. And I was an English major for maybe 6 weeks. It didn't take me very long to figure out that I didn't want to have to analyze Geoffrey Chaucer's Canterbury Tales for the next 2 years. So I switched my major again, and luckily my minor at the time was script writing, so I had a bunch of film credits from classes that I loved. I don't think I took one film class that I did not enjoy. And I was able to switch my major to film about halfway through my junior year, and that's essentially all she wrote. I finished my degree in film, and then I went into a master's program for media and communications. And a year and a half, so I almost finished it, I realized that I wasn't liking the classes, and I think I just took it because I wanted to get a master's degree. So I put that on hold for a bit. I became a babysitter for 2 boys that are in my local town, so not too far away from me. At the time I started babysitting them, they were 4 and 1.5, and now they're 5 and 2.5, so it's a little over a year later. And I then became a substitute teacher the following spring, and that was it. I realized that this was my calling, teaching was my calling. I love working with kids. I ended up getting a job as a teacher's aide at the school that I was subbing at, which is where I am right now. And I love every single day. I love going in, I love the kids. I wish that I had realized that, teaching was my calling a lot sooner.
Do you think Louis would make a good teacher?
I do, actually.
Yes, absolutely.
I think Louis would be a very good teacher.
Having the pleasure of working with Louis, I've been able to experience firsthand his interactions with children, and a lot of that being in a learning environment or a learning setting. So I definitely believe he would be a good teacher. I mean, a lot of that stemming from just his ability to interact with the youth. It's a pretty incredible experience to watch if you do get to do so. He just is very, very good at relating to them and maintaining their attention, maintaining their focus. And week after week up at the camp, he just was really, really I mean, able to grab their attention, to make them interested in what he had to say. And you could even just see it in walking through the camp that the kids just gravitate towards him. It's a contagious energy that he has.
What type of teacher do you think Louis will become?
I think Louis would be the fun teacher in the school.
The type of teacher, I really could see you excelling in a couple of different areas.
I think we've all had those teachers who we become friends with, and I can really see Louis being that type of teacher for his kids. He would be a great role model for them, and he would be someone that they would feel comfortable talking to about anything.
What experiences does Louis have that you think will help him in his teaching endeavors?
Louis was a camp counselor at Cub Scout camp, and he had the job responsibility of nature director. And as nature director, he went above and beyond looking for activities that related to nature that the boys could do. This was above and beyond the actual description of the job. So he was already finding classroom activities that can be used. Also, Louis has been babysitting 2 boys in town, and he always comes home happy, talks about the boys like they're their family. And when I chatted with the mom of the boys, she thought he worked very well with her boys, and thought she's also an educator, and thought he would actually be a very good educator as well.
What age group do you think Louis is best suited for?
I think right now I could see him teaching anywhere from 1st grade to 8th grade.
This is another difficult question, I think, because you obviously excelled with the younger groups, particularly like our 1st and 2nd graders I saw. But you also did well with the older groups as well. I mean, the oldest we had would be 5th grade. But I think outside of that, as just a staff member and relating to the other staff members, who most of them were younger, they were in high school, at high school age, you were also very efficient at supervising them, managing them. I think they respected you very well. I think you were also able to engage with them just as well as you were able to engage with the younger kids.
Final question. If you could describe Louis in one word, what would it be?
Trustworthy?
I'd have to say he's wonderful.
Either energy or enthusiasm.
What kind of teacher do you want to be? Well, it's an interesting question. So throughout my almost, 7.5 years of experience with kids, I've always enjoyed having fun with them. And the kids always seem to gravitate towards me. And I can't really remember a child that didn't like me and that didn't have a fun time with me. So I definitely want to be the fun teacher. And I think even when kids know that I'm being serious, I still care for them. Like, I have the 2 kids that I babysit all the time. They hate when I have to get serious and, yell at them. But they always tell me, like, I hate when you're being serious. I'm like, well, sometimes, you need to be serious, but we still always have fun. I love seeing them whenever I get to see them. And, I want kids to be excited to come to my class. I don't want kids dreading to be like, oh man, I have to go to Mr. N's class today. Like, he's the worst teacher. I want kids to enjoy my class. I want them to be excited to come to my class. I want them to feel safe, and I want to be a role model for them. I know that not all students have the best home life. I think in my area, most of them probably will, but you never know what's going on at home. So I want to be somewhat of a secondary parent figure for them, someone that they can look up to. I think if I can do that and I become a role model as well as the fun teacher, I think I will have succeeded in the type of teacher that I want to become. So, do you think Louis would be a good teacher? Do you think Louis would be a good teacher?
Do you think Lewis would be a good teacher? All right. Good girl.